A very warm welcome to the show. Now, a series of meetings have been outlined this week by the People's Democratic Party as it prepares to hold its National Executive Committee meeting over the zoning of the 2023 presidential ticket, with anxiety among members. Now, that meeting has been shifted from today till Wednesday. Questions are being asked over which zone, the North or the South, will win the battle to get the party's presidential ticket. The multiple meetings of leaders and elders started with that of the National Caucus on Monday, meant to harmonize PDP's position on the agenda for the next meeting, where decisions on where to zone the presidential ticket will be taken. Now, a key aspirant for the presidential ticket is former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who flew the party's flag in the 2019 general election. He has been meeting and lobbying party leaders ahead of his public declaration for the 2023 presidency. Atiku was at a meeting with the Board of Trustees of the PDP earlier today, where he informed them of his decision to seek the party's ticket. But will PDP zone the ticket to the North? What chances will Atiku stand, considering the yearnings of Nigerian youths for a younger president in 2023? Here's presidential hopeful Atiku Abubakar.
I believe if we work together again, we can surpass those votes. As one of the speakers said, my worry, and it should be our own worry, is that what happens if we fail to win the 2023 general elections, God forbid. It means we're going to be in opposition again for the next 8 years. By the next 8 years, I don't know how many of us will be left in politics. And it may even ultimately lead to the death of the party, because people gravitate, particularly in developing countries, towards governments. Ordinary people naturally gravitate towards incoming government. So this is a very, very crucial and historical moment in history and survival of our party.
Well, joining me to discuss these issues is the one who loves to call himself Mazi Paul Ibe, who is the spokesman to presidential aspirant and former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar. So good to have you, Paul Ibe. I mean, Atiku does threw a very strong shot there at the PDP leaders, and he was like, if the party doesn't win again, how many of us will be alive or will be in the polity again and all of that? This is a very strong message to the PDP as to the need to present a united front ahead of 2023 general election. How's Atiku helping the PDP to remain united, especially in the current phase of we have with the likes of Governor Nyesom Wike and Governor Obaseki?
Good afternoon, Somna, and good afternoon, Nigerians. The point Atiku Abubakar was trying to make, in that short clips, it's about the desirability of the party putting its best foot forward. Nobody goes to a football game, for example, with players that are handicapped, without, it seems as if I'm trying to talk down on those who may be physically challenged. I'm talking about people that may have injuries. You always go with your best team. That's what it's all about. And, the former vice president, no doubt from every material particular, brings a whole lot to the table in terms of the experience that he has garnered, over years in the public service and in his private businesses, running businesses that have delivered dividends, created jobs. And, he's a viable candidate, no doubt, whichever way. In the last election, he has about 12 million votes or thereabout in the kitty. So those are starting points. Those are things that you can, contemplate, you can look at, in terms of the viability of his presidential run.
Okay, but we have seen an Atiku being quiet in the face of all of these wranglings in the party. Some state congresses haven't been held. We are seeing two top governors from the South. I mean, exchanging words, and a lot of people are wondering if there are no more elders in the party. Shouldn't people like Atiku be worried that if indeed he doesn't intervene, that this could actually jeopardize even his own chances?
You know, Atiku does his work outside of the glare of the camera. And there's a lot of work, you know, going on in trying to ensure that, you know, the party provides a united front, because that is very key, you know. But no matter how big the Iroko tree is, it can be a forest. And Atiku, you know, recognizes that there needs to be, you know, people, an aggregation of interest, a commonality. You know, people have to come around, you know, the shared value of, you know, what the PDP, you know, represents, you know, both for the party and for Nigeria.
Interesting indeed. A lot of people will actually be looking up to his direction, to considering his experience as a former vice president too. Now let's talk about this wrangling about the NEC meeting. The reason why the NEC meeting was shifted from today till Wednesday tomorrow is actually because of where the zoning should go to. Atiku is still taking his chance because he hopes to get it. But there has been this agitation even by governors of the PDP that the ticket of the party should go south. What are the chances that Atiku stands in this whole wrangling that we're having? Because the Bala Mohammed committee report has said that it should be thrown open, but people from the southeast, where even you come from, kicked against it in the party, saying that, look, the southeast is being shortchanged. People like Atiku should join the southeast and support someone from the southeast. But we haven't seen an Atiku doing that. Instead, he still feels that he's the preferred candidate. Well, what are the chances that he stands to?
Well, I wouldn't know why there was a postponement, you know, in the meeting. I don't know if it's about, you know, zoning. And for whatever reason, you know, it was, that meeting would take place like every other, you know, meetings of the organs of the party. You know, make no mistake about it. The PDP has built-in mechanisms for addressing the challenges that it has been confronted with. I mean, since 1999, or there about 1998, when the party was, you know, set up. Actually, the party, it was that bettered, you know, the democracy the way we know it today. So there are built-in mechanisms for addressing all of that. I believe that the party will reach a consensus on all of those contentious issues, whether they are zoning, whatever it is may be issue. The party will work. They always rise to the challenge, and they will address whatever it is, you know, that is confronting them, because they know that the bigger task, you know, lies ahead of winning the election and, you know, being in government and being able to have the opportunity, the historic opportunity of fixing, you know, the fractured, you know, nation that you know that we have now. I mean, practically everything is collapsing, not just the power grid, the economy, the governance, and all of that. And Nigerians are worse for it.
And so that's Tim Atiku's strongest point, that Atiku stands the chance to help the party come back to government.
Atiku is a unifier. You see, we've never been this fractured. This country is polarized, is divided. All of these things, they have turned into craters, large, deep this thing. And, you know, no matter how well-meaning, you know, you are, if you lead, you know, people who are, disunited like we are presently, not much can come out of that. So you need, for every season, I mean, there are leadership that is desirable. For this time, you know, when the country is so divided, so polarized, you need a man who can bring people around the discussion table to begin to identify what are the challenges, what are the problems, to begin to talk about them and proffer solutions. That's the kind of person that Atiku is, a unifier, someone that will bring people together. And we need so much, you know, of that.
So we should focus more on that than zoning, as people have been saying.
I am not discountenancing one for the other. That's not what it is about. But Atiku represents the total package. And that's what it's all about. The total package, it's about, you know, that man, that leader that will bring Nigerians together, you know, around a shared value. That leader that has the experience, that has the capacity, you know, that's been able to put a team together, that, you know, has put together a policy. I mean, people are tired of everybody knows the solution, including my little niece who was born yesterday. They know what the problems are of Nigeria. But it's about solutions. And that's what I think.
And that's why this government has always said that some of the policies that Atiku had brought about in the past, saying that during his campaigns that he will privatize this or do that and all of that, are things that could actually be used against him again. Is Team Atiku actually preparing and rejigging their campaign manifesto, if we may call it that way, assuming he gets the ticket?
Some of the things, that we have been called names and denigrated, for, have been implemented from the backyard. So what are we talking about? I mean, no matter how well-meaning the government is, government can never get involved in the business of business. Government has to focus on providing an enabling environment and initiating policies, that would drive both the public and the private sector.
Yeah, I remember that key policy when Atiku said he was going to privatize the NNPC. I mean, there was a lot of uproar here and there, but I mean, in this government, we have seen the NNPC being privatized.
That's it. So, yeah, I mean, Atiku has been vindicated. That's what it means. You need to allow the private sector to play the role. The private sector, is well cut out to play certain roles. In the economy. So give them an opportunity, and let government set the rules, and provide the policies, and then we will be out of this wood, that we're, currently, groping up, in now.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. When we come back from this break that we're going on, I want to actually put that issue to you. If an Atiku and the PDP can actually withstand the All Progressives Congress, which has become a behemoth of a sort at the moment. Well, you're also watching the Horizon TV. When we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Horizon TV. I'm Somna Sambo, and I still have with me Paul Ibe, who's the spokesman to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and we've been discussing the consultations ongoing ahead of the National Executive Committee meeting of the PDP, where hopefully there will be a decision taken as to whether to leave the PDP presidential ticket open or it should be zoned to the north or to the south. And we've been discussing Atiku Abubakar too and his chances. Very interesting development happening. We've seen Atiku Abubakar consulting with the PDP caucus in the House of Representatives, PDP caucus in the Senate, and now Board of Trustees and all of that. Why does it look like he just seems to be the only Iroko tree, if I may use your own word, in the PDP? Is it that these organs are also not making themselves available to other presidential aspirants, or they're just giving him regards as the former flag bearer of the party?
Well, without taking anything away from the other aspirants, and I think there are, quite a number of them, let me pivot, back to His Excellency. For him, the presidential run, or even being the president of Nigeria, is not a tea party. It's not a walk through the park. It's not a dash. It's not a real. It's a long race, and this is something that he has started long, before today, with the consultations, and even the technical committee that was led by High Chief Dakwesi that went, traveled the length and breadth of the country, 36 states and the FCT, and the report of that committee, was that, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar should run, and he has also been consulting, long before the meetings with the House of Representatives and the Senate and all of that, with the youth, youth leaders and all of that, the business, community, all manner of consultations, have been going on. And the reason is this: you need to get people to have a buy-in into your presidency. And again, this is also a reflection of the kind of government Atiku will run, an inclusive government that has a buy-in of everybody. And, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and it's cutting them. That's in the nature of, of democratic, constitutional democracy, such that, that we are in now. So, at the end of the day, everybody would have had, a say in your emergence. Everybody will have invested in it. Everybody will look, forward towards your presidency, because it's not just about you, it's about the people, that you're going to preside, over their affairs. They need to be part of that process.
Very interesting indeed. I mean, that consultation by Dr. C, it's one that was very loud, and some people are already accusing even some of you who are Southerners working with Atiku Abubakar of seeming to look like you want to betray your region, because the cry is loud out there that power should move to the south.
Sumner, I mean, I'm of the Igbo extraction, a very proud Igbo man from Ehime-Mbano local government area of Imo State. But the experience that I've had, the journey that I've made, has taken me beyond, the place where I come from. I mean, I was born in Lagos, in Surulere, and I used to make a joke and tell some of my friends, ask them, do you know where Adenobusia was buried? And they would look at me and laugh. And the reason is because having been born in Lagos, I actually know where he's buried.
Interesting.
And, I have made this journey. I have been, acculturated into several experiences that I've had, gone to school in Lagos, gone to school in the Federal Government College of Kigbe. Ingrained in my DNA is the values of unity. And then when I started working with Atiku Abubakar, that was my postgraduate degree on being a Nigerian. It's more than being an Igbo person or being a Yoruba person or Hausa person. Being a Nigerian is understanding that there are people who are different from you. They talk differently from you. They worship differently from you. But there's a shared value that we all have in being a Nigerian. So that's what it is like being, working with Atiku Abubakar. It's not a negation of where you come from. It only enhances the value of who you are as an individual, as a Nigerian.
Very interesting indeed. Now let's talk about the All Progressives Congress. This party came into being in 2013. Atiku Abubakar was part of it. Eventually he pulled out and contested against the APC in 2019. Here we are having an APC that has 23 state governors at the moment. Do you think that the PDP stands a chance against the All Progressives Congress, especially with an Atiku Abubakar flying the flag of the party?
Well, I have seen the APC's acronym being interchangeably used as the All Promises Cancelled and All Progressive Confusion and all of that. And it's a measure of, what the party has manifested into. Had promised so much and delivered, very little. So the 2023 election will actually be whoever it is, whether it's the All Progressive Congress or All Promises Cancelled, versus Nigerians. Nigerians are going to determine, the Nigerian that is hungry, that has no electricity, that has no fuel, that is not secured, that cannot go to the farm, that has never been this divided. Those are the people who are going to, determine, the fate of the election. And of course, your guess is as good as mine, where they will, cast their vote.
Interesting. So you think the PDP stands a better chance against the APC, considering some things that, Nigerians have been using to measure both parties? I mean, the APC has done, would have done 8 years by next year. And they seem to have, been saying that they've helped to move Nigeria forward better in terms of infrastructure, helping to rebuild some of the abandoned projects and all of that. And President Buhari seems to think that he has fought corruption better than the PDP. This is one key thing that was used even against your principal, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. What do you think that the PDP needs to do to ensure that its narrative sinks more with Nigerians?
The election of 2023 will be a referendum on the APC of all that they had promised to do. In the last 7 years or thereabout, have they done that? That's what we're talking about. So the question is, why should Nigerians trust them, with power? I mean, insecurity is at a pandemic, state in this country now. People are not safe. Never. We've never had it this, bad. And it's not enough to say that, it was like that during the PDP era. You are supposed to be a transformative government. And so why settle for less?
A change government.
Yes, why settle for less? You are not meant to be like the people that you had so spoken, ill about, and then you turn around to do the same thing that you said they did, and then you escalate it even beyond the level at which it was. I mean, look at it. I mean, I'm sure you're running on generator right now. I don't know, I've never seen public power supply in the last 72 hours. I'm told the grids have collapsed. But long before the collapse of the national grid, I know that so many other things have been collapsing. The economy is comatose.
Yeah. The government says it's generating 8,000 megawatts now.
Well, we are not seeing it, what they are generating. I mean, it reminds me of, of this book, 1984.
By George Orwell.
George Orwell. That's it. What they say they are doing, the produce, the grains, and they're only, we don't get to, so we're not seeing them in the market.
So black is white and white is
black. It's all propaganda. It's all hogwash. And Nigerians will have to make a determination whether they want to continue, with that kind of leadership, or whether they want to change.
Interesting. Now, some political pundits are already playing a chess game within the Nigerian polity and saying that Tinubu is going to pick the presidential ticket of the APC, and there's a likelihood that Atiku is going to pick the presidential ticket of the PDP. Now, considering that these two fellows have been friends before, I mean, Tinubu even offered his party's presidential ticket to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar under the Action Congress then. What is the scenario that your team is also building? I mean, we would like to have an insight into some of the things that you're thinking. Do you think that there's that possibility? And if there is, what are the chances of an Atiku emerging under such a situation?
Nigerians will have to make that determination. It will no longer be in our hands. It will be up to Nigerians to decide. And I think that they have become very, they are well informed about, what His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, is bringing on the table. So Nigerians will make that determination.
And what's he bringing to the table? What's the narrative that is going to be different from the change or next level agenda that we've heard from this government in the past 7 years?
Well, it's not just about saying, it's also in acting. And, if you look at the trajectory of Atiku Abubakar, over the years, I mean, look at the era when he was vice president, when he was saddled, with the task of the economy. And we saw an economy that averagely grew about 7%. I mean, he's used to being able to manage men and resources. He knows, I mean, he has a knack for that. He's going to come into governance with a business, mindset, knowing fully well that government needs to restrict itself to purely the things that he needs to do, enunciating policy, creating an environment that is conducive for both the public and the private sector to thrive. And that is it.
And that's where the fear also lies, that Atiku will come and privatize and sell everything. Like, I mean, the APC has always accused him.
It's all
sell all the national assets, maybe to his friends, like they keep accusing him of.
It's all propaganda. And I mean, they have decided to do, to run the country the way they deem fit, and we have seen the result. We have seen the result of that. It's everywhere. The private sector must be allowed to bring its expertise, to bear, and that's the only way you can get a, result.
And someone like Bola Tinubu is also coming with such a consciousness that he needs to expand the economy, allow more private sector-driven, projects and all of that in the economy. What are the chances that an Atiku policy can overwhelm that of a potential Tinubu policy if both of them ever get the ticket of both parties?
Nigerians will decide that. It's not. I can't sit here and tell you, speak for that. I just have one vote, but I know, that. As a Nigerian who has followed, the trend in the last 20 years of our democracy, I mean, we know who played which role. We know the role that Atiku Abubakar played in the emergence of the democracy that we have from the G24 group. We know the role that he played, staying away from the military, dictatorship of that, era, and we know the role that he had played both in government from 1999 to 2007, and even outside of government. He has continued to do the things he was doing before he went into government, which was to create, businesses that will create dividends, that will deliver profit, that will create much, needed jobs. And those are the things that, he's known for. Those are his, unique selling points. And he's going to bring those, bring them into government, running the government. And that's all,
okay.
A measure of, a bit of this and a bit of that, a bit of the public sector experience and plenty of the private sector, this thing. And that is it. The marriage, will get us needed, results.
Okay, interesting indeed. We'll just go on this short break. When we come back, indeed, I'll be talking to you about some of the huge criticism against Atiku Abubakar, with some people asking him to step down because he's too old. While some are saying that, look, it's the time for the South. Atiku has been supported previously. He should just allow others to emerge. You're still watching the Arise interview. When we return, we'll be taking a look at all the situations. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the conversations. I'm Sumner Sambo. Now we'll continue our in-depth analysis on what's going on in the major opposition People's Democratic Party, which is already taking a look at what's going on ahead of its National Executive Committee meeting on Wednesday. There are talks about where the presidential ticket of the party should go to, whether it should be zoned to the north or to the south, and then there are some who are saying that it should be thrown open and all of that. And I've been speaking with Paul Ibe, who is the spokesman of Atiku Abubakar, on the possibility of Atiku's emergence. I mean, we've seen Atiku meeting with several groups, several caucuses and organs of the party, and there was a meeting with the Board of Trustees of the PDP earlier today. And I come to you, Paul Ibe. The criticism from some of your party members has been tough against Atiku. They accuse him of trying to stretch his luck too far, saying that, look, I mean, the party has done very well for him by giving him the PDP presidential ticket in 2019. That should be enough. On the part of age has caught up with him. On the part of geopolitical dynamics of the country, and Atiku should not be contesting at the moment because it's the turn of the South. And then when you talk about microzoning, they say it's the turn of the Southeast, even though the Northeast hasn't produced a democratically elected president in the Fourth Republic too. In all of this, do you think Atiku is actually overstretching his luck by seeking the PDP ticket again?
No one is stopping anybody from having a run at the presidency. The last time that I checked, I mean, Atiku is not stopping anybody. And as a Democrat, he understands the fact that the nature of democracy is, you allow people to, as long as you think that you have something, to offer. So he hasn't stopped anyone. And I wonder why anyone should want to stop him. He's a Nigerian. The Constitution, is very clear about who can, run for office of the president. I mean, he meets that threshold. He's qualified. He's capable. He's healthy. He is strong. He is fit.
But they said that there's a call for a Nigerian president of younger extraction, and Atiku should actually be helping to build the PDP to provide to produce a younger presidential candidate this time around. In fact, some people have even offered Atiku the position of Board of Trustees chairman of the PDP. Well, so he could step aside.
Don't play into the hands. Don't play into the hands of those who are fanning the embers of divisions. I've told you earlier, in the course of this discussion, that the country has never been this divided. So let's not bring in the division of the youth versus the other people. I mean, we have seen young people being given a leadership position, and what have they made of it? It's not a question of how old or how young you are. It's a question of what are you able to do. I mean, is he incapacitated in any way? Absolutely none. Yes, he's 75 years old. I mean, we have in other lands, we have seen people who are much older, being saddled with with a responsibility. That's what it takes. And anybody who thinks that they are qualified, that they have the wherewithal, and they can throw their heart into
like he was saying when he went to visit former President Olusegun Obasanjo, that the young people are not excluded from running. I mean, if they feel they can defeat him, let them come out.
Absolutely.
So, but have you also been working with the youth to actually build a movement behind Atiku
there are lots of young people around Atiku that, I mean, is their mentor. You know, politics, like every other, you need to learn. You need to learn, learn the ropes. And you do that by, starting, being around somebody and seeing how it is done. And there are lots of young people, that I know that are around him, that he's mentoring. And it's a process. And when that time comes, people will graduate, into leadership position. But you have to start by getting involved. Nobody sits down and waits for powers to be handed, to them. You need to engage, the process.
And Atiku has been engaging.
Over-engaging.
Very interested in it, Polibe. Now let's talk about how the PDP is prepared to present a party that's formidable for any of the aspirants that emerges as the candidate to win an election. Some people are actually saying that the PDP doesn't look like a strong opposition to defeat the APC. That the organs, despite holding a seamless national convention, that there just seems to be this concentration of power in PDP in the hands of the governors. And some of your supporters, Atiku supporters, are also afraid that the PDP governors may actually push him aside and get the ticket into the hands of one of their own. Are you afraid of that possibility?
You see, the PDP governors are part of the stakeholders of the party. There are, there are others. And, at the end of the day, it is the supremacy of the party, not of, a section of it. So that's what Atiku is trying to do, to engage all segments, of the party. Youth, the BOT, like you said, was the last one, with the House of Representatives, governors, former governors, deputy governors, and those who would be saddled with the task of choosing a candidate, they know clearly what they want. They know the kind of leader that they want for the party, going into what will turn out to be a very strong contest with the ruling party. So
Atiku is not afraid of a gang up by the governors?
Well, I don't think the governors are ganging up. What is going on right now, it's what goes on in every democracy. And people, the minority will have their say, the majority will have their way. What Atiku is doing is to ensure that at the last count that he aligns his interest, is aligned with the majority interest in the PDP. As a politician, as a leader, that's his end game.
And is Atiku offering the vice presidential ticket to any of the governors?
Are you going ahead of the primaries?
That could actually be a carrot.
The primaries, I know.
That's been dangled before the governors. Because they own majority of the delegates to the convention.
I think those who are also canvassing that view are trying to, they're not being fair to the governors. I don't think this is what it is about. The governors are individuals. They must have a say, in how this contest, will play out. That's it. They will have a say. And then ultimately, it is an aggregation of, interest that will, produce, the candidate. So the governors are not ganging up, like it's being made to understand. The governors are airing their views. They have a sense of, how they think this contest, should play out. And, they are free. They are entitled to their view. But at the end of the day, the PDP delegates will make a determination as to who will be their candidate in 2023.
Has Atiku healed the wounds in the PDP? Because some members still accuse him of running away after the 2019 presidential election outcome to Dubai, and he left them in the hands of this government. Some of them said they paid dearly for it. Some of them were harassed and all of that, and he was outside the country enjoying himself, like they say. While some have said that Atiku needs to do more to build more trust in the party, so that a lot of people can queue behind him, because especially in the southeast, they felt left behind. After there was an agreement on who should be his vice presidential candidate, and the southeast governors all went into support him at the convention at Port Harcourt, and once he won, He just went outside those governors and got a Peter Obi. Has that healing process taken place?
Those who are saying that are making a mountain out of a molehill. Don't forget that there is a process when a candidate emerges. I mean, there are discussions that precede, the selection of the vice presidential candidate. It's not the job of one man. There are stakeholders that need to, be engaged, in all of that. And this narrative of Atiku abandoned them, possibly you're not even aware that there were people who were urging the former vice president on to adopt the Ekpetedo. You remember the Ekpetedo declaration?
Yeah, by MK Abiola then.
What did you expect?
Which would have been a very strong
The Supreme Court had ruled,
issue.
Had spoken. And as a Democrat, Atiku, accepted, the result, even though we know that was not a reflection of the distance.
Well, let me just explain the Ekpetedo declaration to our viewers, especially for the younger ones who may not know. Well, there was this declaration by Chief MKO Abiola, the late Chief MKO Abiola, after he had won the election and he was declared, but eventually, when he wasn't declared, when he had won the election and he wasn't declared by the National Electoral Commission then, called NEC, by Humphrey Nwosu, who was the NEC chairman, there was this pressure on Abiola, Chief MKO Abiola, to go out there and declare himself, and he went to Ekpetedo in Lagos, somewhere along the Lekki Expressway, and he declared himself president, and that didn't go well with late General Sani Abacha, who had taken over the reins of power then, and that was the beginning or the genesis of MK Abiola's journey into incarceration and all of that. So at least that has been settled now. So there was a pressure on Atiku to do a similar thing.
But as a Democrat, he accepted the verdict of the Supreme Court. I mean, did you want him to throw this country into crisis? No. And then he took a break. He needed to recuperate and take a rest. And in the process, he went back to school.
So in essence,
and then we had the pandemic.
Nation.
He went back to school. He went back to school to study, to improve himself. And today he has a master's degree in international relations from the Ruskin Anglia University in the United Kingdom, in Cambridge.
So silence is...
so he did not run
political
away.
Critics who have said that he only had a diploma then and all of that and so on, that he didn't even have so much private sector experience like he seems to claim at times. That he also didn't grow up through the ranks in customs. He wasn't the chief executive officer of customs like he likes to make other people look like they haven't held chief executive positions before.
I don't know what Atiku went through the ranks. Started from after his training in Kano, and then and then he joined the customs, and he left the customs as a number 2. He had told himself that after a certain number of years, if he does not get to the pinnacle of the highest justice, he will leave, and he left, and then set up his businesses, and even to the uninitiated, even to those who probably can't stand his gods. They know what his businesses have been able to, how he turned, what was a virgin, land, turned it into one of the biggest, logistics support, this thing for the oil and gas industry. And, he's talking about what does that take? It takes a man, with capacity. It takes a man with vision, and he has done that. And he's still building his businesses. He has set up the Rigogado, which is, he looked at the situation here, the header, farmers clashes, and the rest of the Rigogado is meant to provide food, to the cattle, and the one in Yola, has been running. The one in, in Abuja here will be coming on stream, and then before you're thinking about another region. So those are the things that. So
it's a well-established businessman who knows how to grow the economy.
The people that are saying these things, what have they done? Have they created half of a job? How many jobs have they created?
Now, have you looked at other aspirants who have declared their intention to contest the PDP presidential ticket? Do you think Atiku can easily just walk over these aspirants?
It's not going to be a walkover. Nobody has said that. We are not preparing for a walkover.
I mean, if it was a former PDP flag bearer, shouldn't it be a walkover for you?
If we were preparing for a walkover, we would not have started early, we would not have done this hard work. I mean, the man has been unrelenting. He's been working very hard. And for those who work hard, I mean, the success is, is a result of that work.
Now, why should PDP members entrust their presidential ticket to Atiku again? Because there are these fears that if they do, they may meet a formidable opponent in the APC, which may crush PDP, because so many people already know too many things about an Atiku that they can easily use against him to defeat him again.
Like what?
Well, they keep saying, like I told you earlier on, that he will nationalize assets, and they keep saying that, like former President Olusegun Obasanjo said, an Atiku cannot be trusted. Though we've seen Atiku running back to the same person who made such a verdict. And then you've also seen a lot of northern leaders being skeptical about an Atiku presidency because he comes from the northeast and not from the northwest. I mean, some of those fears are there.
You talk about the northwest and the northeast. Are you saying that the northeast has had a preponderance of the leadership positions at the highest level? I mean, why somebody from another region will be afraid of of him? The truth of the matter is that a lot of the talk that has been going on, it's all it's all politics. It's all politics. The last time that I checked, I don't know if Atiku has ever been indicted, for anything. He has never been indicted for anything. And it's taken this government 7 years. If there was something untoward that the former vice president had done, I am sure that they would have been able to, present that, in court or wherever, for him to answer for those, things that he may have, done against the state. So I don't think you're talking about formidability. How formidable can they be than an Atiku Abubakar? How formidable?
Well, I'm asking you this because a lot of people of recent with Atiku's political moves seem to have been confused. Some of his supporters, look at the role he played when President Muhammadu Buhari's son was about getting, married. I mean, he served like a father of the day. And, some of his supporters were divided. They were confused. I mean, isn't this the same Atiku and Buhari that are always kicking against each other? Why should an Atiku serve as like a father of the day to Buhari's son who's getting married? So we are the cannon fodder being used by these politicians to actually confuse us and play us sort of dirty politics. I mean, weren't you as a strategist also thinking about how Atiku supporters will read meanings to that kind of appearance in that sort of event?
Atiku's politics is of the finest you can ever get. I mean, Atiku would not, get into a dogfight, over nothing. Atiku Abubakar, Muhammadu Buhari's son was getting married, and so if he was invited to the event, are you saying that he should have recused himself? He should not have attended?
Well, that's what some of his supporters think.
That's
based on what they have been reading, in the media. I mean, and Atiku is not supposed to be someone that will get close to Buhari because of the alleged stolen mandate. I mean, we had Buba Galadima here who kept saying that he knows that Atiku won 2019, he was cheated, this and that. So, and then you see an Atiku playing such a key role. If you were a supporter of Atiku, wouldn't you have a double mind?
That's a strength, not a minus.
Interesting. Tell us about that strength.
But I mean, it tells you clearly, the nature of the man that we're dealing with. I mean, it's not, it bears no grudges, against anybody. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow will bring a better day. And Atiku, whatever it is, that he had against, with Muhammadu Buhari in the contest, that is in the past. It probably had nothing to do with his son getting married and for him to honor, his son at their wedding. I mean, for supporters, they also need to they need to align themselves with the values of the man that they support. And that's it, and do not do twins. Atiku is non-violent. He doesn't promote violence in any way, in any shape or form. And that's it.
And interested, Atiku must be doing some things that are really winning him some new fans, because we've seen the likes of Senator Dino Melaye dumping Bukola Saraki to come and join Atiku. I mean, what's that magic wand that he's actually having in place that will make someone like that to actually leave his former principal and be with him?
I don't know about dumping. I know that the Atiku Abubakar message, must have resonated, with him, like it has, with so many others.
You think that they are beginning to realize that an Atiku candidacy is the potential way for the PDP to bounce back to power? As
we get to, get towards the primary, there'll be realignment of forces, and that's why I told that the PDP have a way of resolving all of their issues. And those who are still in doubt, sitting on the fence, will come to, realize that Atiku means the best for the party.
How confident are you that Atiku will clinch the presidential ticket of the PDP, despite all these calls for north-south zoning and all this, wranglings with some people saying that the ticket should just be thrown open and all of that?
Atiku has worked hard. He's working hard and will continue to work hard till the primaries of the party. That's how he's been able to get himself this far, whether it's in business or whether it's in politics. For those who work hard, they will get good results.
Very interesting indeed, and we just hope to have you, beginning these campaigns and all of that in such a way that, the message you are trying to promote here will resonate with a lot of people. But tell us about Atiku outside of what we see. We've seen an Atiku in the past sending out videos on social media where he's jogging, doing exercise, just to show people that, he's still strong and fit. We've seen an Atiku trying to embrace the youthful population through declaring for presidency through the use of social media like Facebook and all of that. Are those the same things that we hope to see this time around? We saw that in 2018, 2019. Do we hope to see some of those things coming out, at least to show people that he's still in the game, and strongly so?
Atiku is very family oriented. He, no matter the time that he deploys to politics and his business, he has time for his family. I don't know about other families, but once in a year, the Abubakar Atiku family has a retreat. There's an annual retreat. Whatever you do, wherever you are, you all reschedule, other things, and clear your schedule, clear your for that particular period. It could be a 3-day period, and they bring, people, it could be psychologists, people that will give talks to the family on sociology and so many other things. And in that process, it's an opportunity for the family to bond, to further, bond, and be able to also, improve, their skills. Yeah. And because of the relationship that he has with his children, you see that, whatever it is that they know as young people, they are bound to teach him. So he has learned a lot, from that. He has continued to reinvent, himself, and that's why his children call him Daddy Cool.
Very interesting. We hope this time around he won't be announcing his presidency through TikTok and all of that, like he did in 2019. Okay, as we try to round off this conversation, you've mentioned Atiku's family and all of that. He was in the news, himself and his wife, for what so many supporters felt should have been nipped at home. He had this divorce issue with his wife, Jennifer, and all of that. As a media manager for him, shouldn't you have also seen how to contain those kind of issues? Because some of the supporters were very angry that such a thing was allowed to come to the public glare in less than 60 seconds before we let you go.
You must respect the privacy of Atiku. Even though he's in the public eye, certain things are no-go, areas for him. Such issues are private, and they are not for public, discussion. We have refused to say a word about it, and we're not going to say that.
Interesting indeed. So, we must thank you so much Paul Ibe for joining us to take a critical look at the politics of the People's Democratic Party, the contest for the presidential ticket of the party, the man Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the flag bearer of the PDP in 2019, who is also seeking to be the flag bearer of the PDP in 2023. We must thank you for joining us on the show, and we can only wish you well and wish the PDP well alongside other aspirants. I mean, the floor is open. We'll keep watching and we'll keep tabs on Atiku Abubakar as he continues his contest for that ticket. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
That's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview.